Hi, my name is Fran, and I work as the Indigenous Student Support Liaison at Charles Spencer High School. We have a number of activities that we have been planning in honor of Truth and Reconciliation Day, September 30th, which has been declared as a national holiday. And part of this is working together to help create and carve out visual space to honor and acknowledge the survivors of the residential school experience that happened here in Canada. One of the ways that we kind of thought would be nice to do this is to create as many beaded orange shirts as possible that people could wear as a pin on their backpack or their shirt or their jacket, just like we wear a poppy to commemorate the veterans that survived and didn't survive the war. So the orange shirt has become a symbol of the residential school experience and those who survived. And there's numerous videos and stories that you can access online to learn about that. And that's why the symbol of the orange shirt is what we'll be beading. And I guess to tell the story briefly, there was a young girl who was going off to school, an Indigenous girl, and she had a wonderful orange t-shirt she was very excited to wear on her first day of school, just like any student would be so excited to have their new clothes. And she went and they took her shirt away. The nuns at the residential school took it away from her, and she never did get to wear that shirt she was so excited about. And she had to wear some unpleasant clothing and had some really unpleasant experiences and ended up being quite sad. And so that story about her orange shirt and her freedom and autonomy being taken away has really become a symbol across Canada to represent all those children who had so much taken away from them, the families, their freedom, language, and happiness at the time, and uncountable other things. So anyways, that is why we've decided that we'd like to bead orange t-shirts as a symbol to create space to honor all of those students who attended residential school. And beading is something that can be and is a very mindful activity. It can be something you can focus on for a little bit of time or for hours. It's really up to you. I hope to provide some guidance in this video for anybody who has picked up one of the free beading kits that Charles Spencer High School is offering to students, staff, and families. And I hope we can all join together in Grand Prairie, Alberta, to show support for the survivors of the residential school experience and the intergenerational survivors. So as you can see, this is a beaded pin, and it's an orange t-shirt. It has a pin on the back, and I'd like to show you how we go about creating this. In your kit, you're going to see a piece of interfacing that has a t-shirt on it that's been drawn out. Some of the kits did have t-shirts that were a little bit unequal. If you have one of those templates and you notice it doesn't look even, especially in the sleeves, feel free just to take a pencil and kind of even it out so that it looks even to your eye, and that will make the beading easier later on when you're kind of trying to match things up. You can see that we start with the outlining all around the image with the black outline. And I've already got beads going here to show how I've went about it, and I'll show you how to start off. So in the bottom corner, you've got your thread and your needle ready to go, I guess I should say, with your thread, make sure it's just single. Don't double it and tie a knot. Keep it as a single thread. Tie a knot in the end, but just have one thread there, like this. And the other piece can be hanging like this. Don't double it, because if it gets tangled, you'll have a really hard time and you'll have to cut your thread, is the only way to fix it. So, maybe I need to adjust this. It seems like I'm really having a hard time. I hope that we can all see this. So, put your needle from the back right in the corner of the bottom corner where those two edges meet. So your needle is poking up there. You see that? Okay, you take that and just pull it all the way through. So now, take your needle and pick up 5 beads, black beads. So I'm going to do that. Pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are size 11 seed beads. They're nice and round and they'll sit really nice for you. So just let them fall down to the bottom of your thread. Pull your thread so it lines up with that line that's been drawn in pencil, and kind of hold it tight there with your finger. And push the beads back to the beginning so they're snug up against the beginning where the needle came out. Then take your needle and simply put it directly in front of the bead here, the last bead, and push it through on the drawn line. So move this distraction and pull your thread all the way to the back. So now your beads are just kind of sitting there. And you see they're kind of loose, right? Pull that thread and use your finger to kind of hold it a little bit tight. It's like a sewing machine. By holding it down, it'll give you some tension so that these beads don't flop around on you. With beading, I guess the main thing is you are the boss of the beads. They should do what you want, and it takes practice, and good for you if you've never beaded before and you're trying something new. It takes practice, so keep this tension underneath and it will help you. Now to stitch these down, because these are just kind of tacked there but they're not sewn down, go back to the first bead in the corner and come up right beside it. You see that? Right between the first and second bead, you come up. It doesn't matter which side. And pull your thread all the way through. Give it a little tug. And then there's a thread running through all of these beads. You came up on this side. So now you want your thread to go over to the other side. Oops. Over to the other side, and again between the first and second bead right beside it. Push your needle through there. I hope you can see that okay. And just pull gently your thread and keep an eye on it. Make sure it goes where you want. As it goes here, you can see it's right there. There it goes. You see how it pulled that bead to sit straight? Again, hold this back thread down with your finger if you can to keep it a little bit tight. And now, because we're outlining, you really should do every single bead. Each of the beads in this line, you do the same thing. This is really important for later when we do the edging or the finishing. You don't want these beads loose. So you go up behind the next one now. Same thing, you come up right beside it, see? And on the other side, go down. And this is just how I bead. Some people they bead with two needles. There's different approaches, and whatever works for you. This is just what I'm sharing. If there's something else that works for you, that's great. Do that. The main thing is we get the beads on where we want them to be. And so now I'm going to the third stitch. And half of the battle here, well, I won't say battle, half of the learning is getting comfortable with how a needle and the thread feel in your hands and what works for you. Because we all have different fingers and ways of feeling things, right? So now I'm on the last one. We'll come up, do the same thing, and don't pull your thread really super tight. It should be snug, but if it's too tight, it'll make your bead kind of wobble around and sit crooked and throw the other beads off. So snug, but not super tight. So here's the last one on the row. I'm gonna pull it. Now, with beading, a really big piece of it is nobody can see your thread. You see this? You can't see any thread where I joined pieces or put the beads on. So how do we do that? Well, we come up behind the we hold this a little tight again in the back. We come up behind that last bead between right in behind, and it's a little tricky because you can't see. Oops, I'm not used to making videos, sorry. Okay. We come up right behind that last bead. So you see, I hope you can see that okay. Between the last bead that you put on, bring the needle up behind it, right through the thread or right beside it, as close as you can get to the middle. You pull the thread through. Now your needle's back on top. Take your needle and push it through the hole of that bead, like this. So push your needle through there and pull your thread through now. So you see, as I'm doing that, it's going to give me a place where I can like join and add more beads, and nobody's ever going to see where those connected. Over here there's 5 beads, 5 beads, 5 beads, but you can't tell where they connected. And that's because I came up and brought my thread back through the hole. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to add 5 more beads, and hopefully you're able to be doing your next set. And actually maybe I'll pause the video and you keep going all the way up to this corner right here where the armpit is, and then I'll come back and we'll do the next step. Okay, so I've got my line up, and what am I going to do now? I'm going to do the bottom of the sleeve. I've already done the other side, and there are 6 beads on the bottom of the sleeve, so I'll put 6 on the other side. So to do that, we're changing direction, but that's okay. We just come up like we did before. We'll put our needle where we wanted it to be. So you see, just put it there. Pull your thread and pick up 6 beads. It should be 6. It might be 5, or it might be 7, depending on if you've changed your template at all. But let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Oops. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing as we've done so far, but we're just going to turn it and hold those beads to the edge of the sleeve. push it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I've got 7. Okay, so here's a little trick. If you have too many beads on, you don't, without rethreading your needle, take the bead that you want to come off, separate it, hold it between your fingers, and just take your needle and put it back through the thread. Hold it and just slide the bead off and it'll come off the end. And then you do not have to rethread your needle. Okay, so now I have 6. I'm going to hold them, push them where I want them, put my needle down. It's okay if they're all loose. when you pull the thread, it's gonna, oops, tighten them up. Okay, if that happens, just gently go like this, and it should untangle your thread, and try it again. So now I'm going to stitch those beads down, right? So I'll put this on pause and then we'll carry on to the next steps.